All right, good morning. Hopefully, we are able to get started here. I want to welcome everybody to Royal We Fellowship. This is every Saturday morning. Happy Shabbat. On this very cold morning, good morning, Dee. We're going to go ahead and open up in prayer while we wait a few minutes for everybody to come in. Our Father, who is in heaven, how holy is your name, and your kingdom will come, and your will shall be done here on this earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day and each and every day our daily bread, and forgive us of our sins as we forgive those who sin against us. Lead us not into temptation, and deliver us from the evil that's in this world. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. And everybody says, amen. Well, let's go ahead and dive right in. We are following in the life of Jacob now, coming into Genesis. We're still in Genesis 30. Genesis 30 has been a very long chapter, and we've broken it up because there's an awful lot of good information in there. And we're going to continue with Jacob, and we're going to get into see more of the world of narcissism, of selfishness, of greed. And we're especially going to see this in the one person who Jacob has worked for and who has earned the rights to his daughters and has helped to expand his wealth. This is Laban. Laban is an uncle of Jacob's who Jacob worked very hard for 14 plus years to earn his daughters. And at every turn, Laban has been blessed by Jacob's effort. Laban has become wealthy, increasingly wealthy, and as a result of this, Jacob is now saying, I'm ready to move on and become my own family. Allow me to go, as we saw in last week's teaching, that Jacob said, now allow me to go and produce for my own family, not for his parents, right? He's not talking about his father, Isaac, and his mom and his brother Esau. He's talking about his family, his wives, and his kids. Isaac is already wealthy. He has no reason to need to go and take care of them. But at each point in our lives, this is for you and for me, we need to get to this place where we say, from our authorities in life, allow me to go now so that I can produce on my own. This is being able to branch out when you get to a place where the Lord has blessed you and you're able to carry on and do this now for yourself. Get out from under the authority of somebody else and into your own blessings, your own family, if you will. And so this is what's taking place here. Genesis 30. We are starting in verse 29. Okay. Now, again, this is recapping what we talked about last week, but this is important. So Jacob said to Laban, right? You know I have worked for you and how your livestock have fared under my care. Verse 30 says, the little you had before I came has increased greatly. Jacob is saying that I have worked so hard for you, Laban, that what you have has increased greatly. The Lord has blessed you wherever I have been, but now when may I do something for my own household? See, there it is. He's not saying, let me go back to my family of origin. He's saying, let me now do for my own household. I have made you wealthy. I have blessed you, but is it right for me to continue to bless you and your household for the rest of my life? Now, let me go and do the same for my household. There's also a good indication in here, as we're going to see in this chapter, that there's a reason why Jacob needs to depart from Laban. And we're going to see in this, from verse 29 through the rest of chapter 30, we're going to see exactly why Jacob needs to separate himself from Laban. If Laban was a man of purity, if Laban, the father of Rachel and Leah, was a man of holiness, of godliness, if Laban was this person, Jacob would have really no need to leave and do something for his own household. He would have chosen to stay, and God would have continued to bless together them staying together. But that's not the case. Jacob is actually itching to get out of the situation, and we're going to find out why. Because what we're going to come to find out here is that even though Jacob has blessed Laban, Laban is not a pure person. He's not a good person. And the Lord inside of Jacob is saying, you need to leave and you need to do things according to the way in which I am telling you to do things in your own household. And this is important for you and for me, because you and I need to at some point look at what's going on around us, whether it's parents, family, whoever, a toxic situation. And we need to understand that at the first sign of certain types of toxicity, maybe we are being called to get out and do things differently. Jacob was there for 14 plus years. And now he's saying, may I do something for my own household? Meaning I understand now that I need to separate and create my own household separate from yours. Why? Obviously, because there's some things here that are not right. That's why. Now, how many of us fall into the trap of ignoring the things that are not right and then refusing to go on and create and fix that in our own household? So moving on, we see that Laban starts to bargain with Jacob over this, and he says, "What shall I give you?" Jacob, knowing Laban's heart, knowing that it's probably a trap. Now we're going to get into why Jacob understands that he needs to live with his family. So Jacob cuts him off and says, "Don't give me anything." This is verse 31. "Don't give me anything," Jacob replies to Laban. "But if you would do this one thing for me, I will go on tending your flocks, watching over them. Let me go through the flocks today, remove from them the speckled and spotted sheep, every dark-colored lamb, every spotted and speckled goat. They will be my wages, and my honesty will testify for me in the future. Wherever you check on the wages that you've paid me," meaning whenever you check, make sure that they're spotted and they're speckled. "Any goat in my possession that is not speckled and spotted, or any lamb that is not dark-colored, will be considered stolen." So why would Jacob go to such an extent to tell Laban, "Listen, you can, all you need to do is let me take and gather all the speckled and spotted, okay? That's it. And if you ever catch me with sheep as I am getting ready to depart, if you catch me with any sheep and with any goats that are not spotted and speckled, then it could be considered stolen, and you have every right to be angry and mad at me." Why is he going so far to say this? Because he understands the character of Laban. And you and I need to understand this character and this personality that we deal with every single day in the world. We do have to be one step ahead. When we talk about narcissists, when we talk about toxic people, we're talking about worldliness and selfishness. We're not talking about a superpower. A lot of times we give narcissists credits for being wolves and lions, and they're not lions. What they are worldly people who live by worldly, selfish principles. They're looking for reasons to accuse. Narcissists look for reasons to accuse. They look for reasons to torture. They look for reasons to torment. They look for every single avenue in this life of where they can get something from you. And if we understand this principle, we can cut them off ahead of time by playing into their game. Their desire is for everything to be perfect because their desire is for their image to be perfect. Jacob sees this in Laban. After 14 years of working with him, took him 14 years to understand the character of Laban, and he understood this fact about Laban. Laban needs things to be perfect. He is, in fact, a selfish individual. And so he plays into that while maintaining being a step ahead. How does he play into it? He offers him saying, "Listen, Laban, I will leave you with every perfect animal, every unspotted and unspeckled animal and sheep. I'll leave it with you, and I will take the dirty ones. I will take the spotted ones. I will take the ones that don't look good. Will this work out for you, Laban?" He's playing into the selfishness of Laban so that he can depart. All right? Some of you need to understand this. When we talk about separating from narcissists and toxic individuals, I made a video some time ago of allowing narcissistic people to believe they've won. I'm not sure if many of you have seen that on the organic channel, but there comes a point in time when we leave toxic relationships or are getting ready to leave abusive people. it's oftentimes best to let them feel like they've won. Don't try to one-up them. Don't try to put them down and criticize them. Don't try to leave with your guns blazing and I'm the superior one. No, say, be able to say, you know what, you're right, you're the best, I'm the bad one. And as a result, I'm going to leave. I will leave the toxic relationship. I'll leave you alone. I won't bother you anymore. And by allowing them to feel like they are superior and won, you now are able to leave the situation and ultimately you win because you're out. And that is what wins in toxic relationships, is just getting out. Okay? And oftentimes you have to do it by allowing them the belief that they have won. And so this is what Jacob is doing. You win. You will get every clean and pure animal. I will take the spotted and speckled ones, the ones that are not normal, if you will, right? And that will be my wages. I will take the loss, Laban. You are the best. You keep everything that's pure. Laban liked that. Agreed. Take the spotted and speckled ones. Now, we're going to get more into the character of Laban. Verse 34 in chapter 30 of Genesis, Laban says he agreed. He said, let it be as you said. Now, verse 35, that same day, Laban removed all the male goats that were streaked or spotted, and all the speckled and spotted female goats, all that had white on them, and all the dark-colored lambs, and he placed them in the care of his sons. Then he put a 3-day journey between himself and Jacob, while Jacob continued to tend to the rest of Laban's flocks. What is it telling us here? Laban is already, out of his own selfishness, breaching his agreement with Jacob. He took all the speckled and all the colored ones that Jacob just made a deal with him. He took them and he put them in the care of his sons, and then put a 3 days journey between him and Jacob so that Jacob would have nothing. So Jacob would have no sheep and no goats whatsoever. Laban is showing his true face as a crook, as a person of mischief, as a narcissistic, selfish, uncaring individual. And now watch this. Jacob has been working with this person for 14 years. Jacob is also married to his daughters. Now we are seeing why Jacob is carefully planning his exit from this dynamic, from this family dynamic that he's living in. He's carefully planning his escape because he knows Laban. He knows the character. He has been studying and dealing with and understanding this narcissistic pattern of behavior for 14 plus years. He understands now that living on Laban's territory, he is in Laban's world there, and he has no choice except to plan his exit. And even when he plans his exit, he also understands that Laban acts very shady. Laban is going to have a problem. Why? Because Jacob wants to get away. And this is true, and this is the case with all narcissistic people, with all toxic relationships. As many of you are aware of, if you get out of a toxic relationship, they don't want you to leave. When you leave, you take away their feeling of control and of power. They're not for your freedom. They're not for you living a blessed life on your own. Narcissistic people, toxic individuals, are for control over your life, and they will go by any means necessary to keep you stuck right where you're at. Not because they love you, not because they care for you, but because they do not want to lose control over you. And so this is why we see Jacob pleading and making a deal, making it seem as though Laban couldn't, has a great offer. I'll just take the speckled. You don't have to pay me any money, nothing. I'll take the speckled and I'll leave, provide for my family. Now, we're going to get into a very interesting thing. Jacob saw that what Laban had done. He knew it, and he probably knew it ahead of time. Laban is not going to make this easy. Again, this is why Jacob wants to go. He's anxious to go. He knew that Laban would make this very difficult, and he has. He's proven that he has. So Jacob in verse 37, chapter 30, verse 37, right? Jacob, however, took freshly cut branches from poplar, almond, and plane trees and made white stripes on them by peeling the bark, exposing the white inner wood of the branches. Verse 38 says that he then placed and peeled branches in all the watering troughs so that when the female sheep would come and drink from the troughs, they would be looking directly in front of the flocks when they came to drink, right? And so along the troughs, the watering troughs, the sheep would be staring directly at these multicolored wood, this multicolored branches all throughout the watering troughs. When the flocks were in heat and they would come to drink, they mated, verse 39, they mated in front of the branches, and they bore young that were streaked and speckled and spotted. Now, this is a very interesting thing, and this is a thing of much debate. How did Jacob pioneer a way for sheep to be colored, right? Simply by putting something in front of the female sheep. And there's not that I've been able to find, there's no real scientific evidence that this would work, okay? But again, we're talking about the mysteries of God here, but there are some interesting things. Now, Augustine of Hippo in 430 AD writes this. He says, Jacob is not the creator of the colors in the flocks he managed simply by putting partly colored rods in the drinking troughs, all right? So yes, Jacob did put multicolored rods in the drinking troughs. He did by faith step out and say, I'm going to put multicolored rods. But then the Lord also played a part in this and stepped in. And Augustine of Hippo goes on to say this, for the ewes to gaze while they conceived. Okay? So this is also interesting to understand that it was while they were conceiving that the ewes would gaze at these rods. So the male sheep were behind them during the conception, while the females were staring at the watering troughs at the multicolored rods. All right. Now then, Augustine of Hippo goes on to say this, for the ewes to gaze while they conceive, but because the vivid impressions of colors by gazing at them remained embedded not only in the sheep's minds, but in their souls, the soul and body should thus psychosomatically react upon each other. So it was due, this is Augustine of Hippo still, so it was due to the souls of the pregnant mothers being affected outside through their eyes, having inside the programming of embryo formation, which they received from the Creator, from God. Now, an interesting thing here, now again, we're not going to debate whether or not this is scientifically possible, but we're going to look at the hidden message in here of what the Lord is trying to tell you and me, and that is this. The things that we look at, the things that we stare at, the things that we gaze at, embed themselves not only in our mind, but also in our soul. And if we are not careful in this life, we can give birth in our life to things that we have taken in through our eyes. Should I say this again? This is an indication, a story for you and for me. It's a message that God wants to give me and you, that what we take in outside through our eyes can embed itself in the inside programming for which we can give birth out of our lives. Right? I think there's more power, based on what's being said here, in what we take in our eyes and what we see and what we associate ourselves with. There's more power in this than we realize. Whether or not it's scientifically possible, the message is clear. God wants you and wants I to know that when we are conceiving, our life is a conception process. We are conceiving. We are producing all the time. By conceiving, I mean we are always giving birth to something. We are giving birth to the work that we do. We are giving birth to faith. We are giving birth to how we give in this life. And this is all what the Lord wants us to know, is that what you take in through your eyes is going to be mixed into your soul, and it's going to in part come out of whatever you give birth. Whatever your work at, whatever you do in life is going to be in part based on what you take in and implant in your soul. This makes it so important to be careful of toxic people, toxic things, our association with what we see, because it will inevitably come out of our lives. It will come out. We will give birth to things in our life based on how we take things in. Next, chapter 31, when the flocks, and this, as far as the scientific part now, because again, there's no scientific evidence that you can breed multicolored things because of allowing goats or sheep to stare at colored things. I don't think it's necessarily that easy. We do have another explanation that we don't see until the next chapter of Genesis, chapter 31, and we see this in chapter 31, verse 10 through 12. It says, "When the flocks were breeding, I saw in a dream that the streaked, spotted, and speckled males were mating with the females. In that dream, the angel of God said to me, 'Jacob,' and I said, 'Here I am.' And he said, 'Look up and see. All the males that are mating with the flocks are streaked, spotted, and speckled, for I have seen all that Laban has been doing to you.'" So according to his dream, in the next chapter, chapter 31, we see what God really did. What God had done is he had the genetic code of the spotted and speckled already in all the males. Already in all the males that were mating with the females. So there's the answer. So just because the males that were mating looked pure on the outside, they carried the genetic code of already being spotted and speckled. And that's what the Lord is saying. While they were, he saw that in the dream, that the males all had that gene. They all had the spotted, discolored gene in them, and they were mating with the females. So the Lord had already had that in progress. The Lord had already had that gene active in all those males. It's just that those males on the outside looked pure, but their genetic code was that of producing the spotted and speckled. And this is what he was saying. And he did that because he saw all that Laban has been doing to you. Now, again, we're not in chapter 31. We're going to get there, and we'll talk about that next week. However, it's important to understand, again, the need for Jacob to get out from under Laban and under his authority, because even the Lord said, "For I have seen all that Laban has been doing to you for 14 years. Now, many of you need to hear this as well, that the Lord has seen all that the toxic family members, all that the oppressive authority and the people you've brought into your lives, the Lord has seen what they've been doing to you. And now if you've been willing, and if we all have an open heart, we can allow the Lord to guide us out of these toxic situations, oftentimes by playing into the toxic people's hands and giving them what they want, leading them to believe that they are winning while we are secretly getting out. So we see what Jacob has done. He has opened the door for new spotted and speckled young of sheep to be born. And verse 40, chapter 30, Jacob set apart the young of the flock by themselves, made the rest face the streaked and dark-colored animals that belonged to Laban. Thus he made separate flocks for himself and did not put them with Laban's animals. Jacob this time, after they were born and they were spotted and speckled, he said, I'm keeping these ones close to me. I'm going to separate the two from the clean ones. And he held on to his agreement, but he made it so that Laban could not get to them. Now, whenever the stronger females were in heat, Jacob would place the branches in the troughs in front of the animals so they would mate near the branches. But if the animals were weak, he would not place them there. So the weak animals went to Laban and the strong ones to Jacob. In this way, the man grew exceedingly prosperous and came to own large flocks and female and male servants and camels and donkeys. So Jacob stayed true to his promise to Laban. And we can see that after they made the agreement, there was still some time. Jacob didn't leave right away. Okay, Jacob at least was there long enough for females and males to conceive more young, and they were all spotted and speckled enough until we get to the point where Jacob is able to leave. Meanwhile, while this is happening, Laban is playing his dirty game of whatever he's trying to do. Make it impossible for Jacob to leave. And this is what toxic people do. They want to make it impossible for you to leave the situation. They want to hurt you. They want to rob from you. They want to steal from you. They want to make it very difficult. And again, it's not personal necessarily. It's not because they hate you that much. It's because they don't want to lose control. Laban wants Jacob to stay right where he is so that he can remain in control of the entire family, so that all of Jacob's wealth goes to Laban. And if Jacob leaves, then Laban is left back to the person he always was before Jacob was there, and Jacob is off to be Jacob. And there is that jealousy and that envy. And this is true for our toxic relationships. When you threaten to leave, and don't get me wrong, it feels horrible when you are demeaned and devalued by toxic parents or exes who crush you, making you feel like you're nothing. But a lot of this is out of the sheer jealousy and envy of knowing that you are blessed and you will go on and continue to be blessed while they're going to be left in the same spot they were before you even ever arrived. And so before you go, they want to make sure that you're nothing and you're not going to have anything to take with you. This is what Laban is attempting to do to Jacob. He's going to send Jacob away, making sure that Jacob has no chance of being blessed, because it's not fair to a toxic, narcissistic person. They hold that envy and that anger in their hands. It's not fair that you get to go on and be blessed. It's not fair that you are who you are. It makes me so angry. That's what Laban is thinking in his heart. It makes me so angry. So I'm going to make it impossible for you to go. And I'm going to take what's yours. I'm going to take what you have, which he did by taking the spotted and speckled sheep. I'm going to take your end of the deal, and so that you leave with nothing and you won't leave. If you don't have anything, you won't leave me. Narcissists operate in this exact way. Their idea and their mentality of toxic people in this world is that if they take from you what you have and what you possess, then you won't leave. If they rob from you your energy, your goodness, your purity, your brilliance, if they take this from you, then you won't leave. They're insanely envious that you could go on and continue to be blessed without them. And with that, I want to thank you for being a part of the Royal We. Saturday mornings, Shabbat Shalom. We will be back next Saturday, 9 o'clock a.m. to continue on with the journey of Jacob. And be blessed this weekend. Be encouraged. Be inspired. And I pray that the Lord will be with you and bless you throughout this week. And I look forward to seeing you next Saturday morning, 9 o'clock a.m. on Royal We Fellowship. Have a great weekend and a great week, everybody.